Hi everyone. So for my current issues presentation, I wanted to talk about Facebook and political advertisements, especially now since Facebook is changing the way they are handling political ads for this election cycle. So just a bit of background information. In 2016, during the election time, Facebook had a lot of advertisements with misinformation and disinformation regarding the candidates for the election. This was also a huge issue with the Cambridge Analytica, where people's personal info was being taken and used for targeting ads without, their consent. Mark Zuckerberg initially denied the way that Facebook could affect the election, but following November 18th, 2016, Mark Zuckerberg posted a really long update about how Facebook is going to start dealing with false information. In this corner over here. So in the following years after, Facebook receives a lot of criticism for the way they handled political ads. Mark Zuckerberg testified before the House Financial Services Committee, and he stated that Facebook will only fact-check political ads if there's an immediate risk of harm. He said that he doesn't want to censor political advertisements in any way, shape, or form because it could harm free speech, and that people should be able to see, even if it's wrong, what these candidates are saying about one another, even if it's a lie. To quote, he said, "I think lying is bad, and I think that if you were to run an ad that had a lie, that would be bad." So the way that Facebook decided to deal with the misinformation is that it'll flag ads with misinformation or disinformation, but it won't take them down. And he also stated that Facebook doesn't appoint its own fact checkers, but rather goes through a third party. So more recently, in 2020, critics and protesters have demanded that the company stop running political ads before this year's election. There was a protest outside of Facebook's the Facebook company in headquarters, I believe. But Facebook held its ground, and it kind of reiterated the fact that saying fact-checking could interfere with free speech and politics. A lot of critics really felt like that Facebook wasn't doing enough to prevent, actual issues with manipulation. But this year, and this month, Facebook announced that they're going to consider political ad blackout ahead of the election. This will kind of be up to the users to decide for themselves. At the moment, it was not yet finalized, but there should be an update within the next week or so about how they're going to do it. So users will be able to turn off political, electoral, and social issue ads from political candidates, super PACs, and other organizations that have the paid for by political disclaimer on them. So just a little bit of how this would work. Say you were to see a political ad, you would click on the ellipses, and then you would have the option to hide the ad, and you would never see that specific ad again. And then if you felt offended by it in any way, shape, or form, you could report the ad. After you've done that, it'll give you this option, and then you could hide all the ads from whoever is advertising them. You won't see any more ads from that advertiser. A different option is you click on the ellipses again, and you can see why you're seeing this ad, and you can see why you're being targeted for this advertisement specifically, and then you can also hide ads from this advertiser from that menu. Finally, you could scroll over and see if it's a confirmed organization. You can see whatever organization it is, and then you can go and see fewer ads about this topic, and then you wouldn't have to worry about seeing any political ads whatsoever on Facebook. So the reason that this is related to media law is the core of the First Amendment is to protect political speech, which includes political ads. So, advertisements are regulated by the FTC and the FCC in some ways. So the FTC administers truth in advertising regulations for commerce. The FCC has regulations regarding political ads in radio and television. So broadcasting stations sell ad time to candidates. they can't really alter the ad, but cable networks aren't under the same regulations. And online, the FCC has no jurisdiction whatsoever. Each social media platform is a private company and can make its own decisions about how it wants to handle hate speech, misinformation, disinformation, and the way it affects political advertisements. So comparing Facebook to a different social media website, Twitter, in October, I believe Twitter announced that they're not allowing political advertisements just to avoid controversy and possible spread of misinformation. So under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, people, the social or the internet service providers are not liable for what people post and can't be sued for having false ads. So say an ad contains a lie about a candidate, they could potentially, they can't sue the internet service provider for defamation or libel because of this. And so I think it's interesting that Facebook is deciding this year to allow people to choose what they get to see, but that they're not outright banning political ads off their things. I think it'll be an interesting thing to see after the outcome of it after the election this year. And I'm curious if any other websites are choosing to do something similar to this. So thank you. Bye-bye.